right, it's story time. Today, the story of my spider bite, or at least what I think was a spider bite, what I learned from that, how I learned to walk in the dark, and a weird thing that happened in the next couple weeks after that spider bite. So, pretty much fresh out of high school, I just wanted to be in the woods, and I went and lived in the woods most of the time. I'd come back to the Santa Cruz Mountains, I think, when I was about 20, and I just moved into the woods and lived in a little hut thing and slept on the ground. Rarely was I ever in like a sealed tent with, a screen and everything to keep bugs out, so it was normal to have like bugs and spiders and stuff crawling around. Right about then, I found this flyer that was like Old Ways Living Skills classes in the state park nearby. And I was like, I have to take those. So it was classes like tanning hides, fire making, primitive hunting technology, flint knapping, basketry, stuff like that. So I took like four of those classes and quickly became friends with like some of the teachers. I became like a teacher's assistant right away with those people. I just kind of like got myself into that scene. I was like, this is it. These are my people, right? And I had agreed to do this demonstration on fire making, like hand drill fire making, which is like you take a stick and you spin it between your hands and a board, and then it makes a coal and you make fire. That's not a totally uncommon skill now, which is weird, but back then it's like you just didn't meet people that did that, so it was a big deal, and I got to do this demonstration at like an event they were having. So I rode my bike everywhere, and I couldn't get to this event early enough in the morning, so I decided to sleep at the park in this big tule hut that they had built on the class site where I took all these classes. So that was like a big bent willow structure covered in tule reeds, like thatched reeds. It was really, really neat. It was actually built by Norm Kidder, a friend of mine who I didn't actually know at the time, didn't meet till later. And I thought, how cool, I'm living the life, like I can just do what I want. I live in the woods and I get to sleep in this awesome tule hut. So I woke up in the middle of the night with my finger just throbbing, really bad pain on the top of my finger. And I don't remember what I had. I might have had like a weak cigarette lighter or some matches or something that I could look at it real quick. I can't even remember. Maybe I couldn't see it at all, but I know I didn't have a flashlight. And I was pretty much thinking, okay, I probably got bit by a spider, right? When you have something like this, it's always kind of presumed or suspected to be a spider bite. But I really don't know, and I didn't know at the time. All I knew was it hurt like hell. So I thought, okay, something bit me. It's kind of like maybe a bee sting. It'll get better. No, it didn't get better. It got worse. And it was just this deep throbbing of like my whole finger, just like this kind of pounding pain. And I was like, okay, I got to do something. I have no flashlight. I go outside. It's completely dark. Like it must be a new moon because there's just no light. And I'm in kind of a big opening, and if you look up, you can kind of discern like the tree line of the edge and maybe pick up just a little bit of ambient light, but almost nothing. And I'm thinking, okay, I need to get to the riverbank and get some willow, because willow contains aspirin. I've known that since I was like 16. I can't conceive that there's like a traditional culture where willow grows that doesn't know that it's a painkiller, and it grows almost everywhere in the north, basically. I don't know, at some point in the tropics there's probably no willow except in the mountains. I really don't know, but the stuff's pretty ubiquitous. I just got to get to the riverbank and eat some willow because this is so painful that it can not only not sleep, but it's just miserable. And I'm going to walk in the dark to the river without being able to see anything and find some willow. And I also have this obligation the next day to do hand drill fire making. I'm just sure I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm going to have to cancel because this pain is just so severe. I'm like, even if I take something, I'm going to have to cancel this class, which I felt kind of bad about. So I just went for it. And I think that's where I learned to close your eyes if there's no light and you can't see anything when you're walking. It's better to just close your eyes. And put your arm in front of your face, close your eyes, and just feel your way along. Use your ears, whatever you can. But if you keep your eyes open, it just distracts you trying to see something when you just can't see anything at all. So I made it down there, and it was like through these redwoods. It wasn't that far. It was probably like less than 100 yards, like 75 yards or something like that. I don't know, it might have been 100 yards, but anyway, it was hard to get there. And on the bank, like once you get near the bank, it's really tangly and just like thick, brushy vegetation, willows and tangled stuff like that. But I made it down there. I could hear the river. There was like a small highway across the river, and I could hear that a little bit. And I managed to make it over there. So I stumble down into the bank, and of course it's dark. So how do I find willow in the dark? Well, by smell, because I know what willow smells like. It has a very distinctive smell. If you put me on any riverbank, like anywhere in the world, I could probably find the willow by smell. So I found the willow. I'm like, sure enough, sniff, sniff, that's it. And just peeled some off. I think the bark was peeling. It was probably spurring or something. Peeled some bark off and started chewing it. Now, I don't know if you've ever tasted willow bark, but try just like a little 1 centimeter piece sometime, and it tastes extremely bitter. And not only that, it's just kind of got like this odd, sharp, medicinal, skunky taste or something. It's not fun to eat. And I didn't know how much to eat. How much willow do I eat? How much aspirin does it contain? Well, I'm like, it's probably not going to kill me, and I'm freaking miserable, like just this throbbing pain. I'm just going to eat as much as I can stand. So I took pretty much like probably a small handful of the stuff, chewed it up in my mouth, and just swallowed the juice. And that was not a lot of fun. Sat right there on the riverbank, just kept eating until I was, done, and took some more back with me. So then I had to walk back, right angle from the river, and just go, and I made it. Once I got out of the trees, which was just like big, tall redwoods. So this is like worst case scenario. It's just like deep forest in a canyon. But once I got out of the trees, I could kind of like pick up a little light in this big opening, and found my way back to the hut. Within a couple of hours, the pain was gone, and I mean completely gone. So there must have been a lot of aspirin in all that willow bark that I ate. I probably took like 20 aspirin or something like that, because I don't usually find aspirin that effective. But I ate a lot of that bark because I was just like, this has got to go right now. And I got up in the morning, and I was actually able to do the class. So, I'm literally like spinning a twig between my hands and pushing really hard, really fast, and I did it. So during that time, like over the day, like a big blister formed there, and then it popped, or I might have popped it and peeled it off, but it just left like a big open dead ulcer, like down to the flesh. It wasn't like just a layer of skin came off like a regular blister. It was like it was kind of raw. And it was maybe like a little over 1/2 inch long and maybe 3/8 of an inch wide or something like that. I think I went to my dad's house because I was starting to feel sick, and I had a fever for like, I think part of the next day that night and part of the next day. And I just felt sick and like crampy and kind of poisoned, So I got some herbs right away, probably the first day, as soon as it was open. I got some plantain and probably some other herbs, just like stuff that's antiseptic, fresh leaves, crushed them up into a poultice, put it on there, and then wrapped it with some scrap cloth and tied it, so that we just keep that herbal poultice on there all the time. And I changed that a couple times a day, and at least once a day for about 2 weeks. When I would change it, I would be like, wow, it's really swollen. Like I still can't bend my finger because it's too swollen, right? And the thing was starting to look better, and it was healing up and stuff, and I wasn't sick anymore. But I just kept maintaining this, and I was really good about maintaining it. So I'm sure I changed that poultice at least once a day for a couple of weeks. So after a couple of weeks, I was changing it. I'm like, what's up? Like I still can't move my finger. Like it just wouldn't bend. And I started picking at it, and I peeled off a case of thick dead skin that was so thick that it was keeping my finger from bending. So whatever it was actually killed all of the skin on my entire finger, like all of it, and just the finger, which is weird, like it didn't really go past the finger. And underneath there was like a new fresh pink finger. Super weird. Like I don't know what to think of that. Like how does that happen? And I still don't know what it was. Like, I don't know if it was a spider or not, but that's kind of, my working assumption at this point. Apparently, there's a biologist in California that says we don't have brown recluse up here, that maybe there's some in Southern California, but we have some other spider. I think it's called the aggressive house spider or something really poisonous with, like, similar properties. But a lot of people that get bit by these things, they get ulcers that persist, and they grow, or they never heal, and mine healed fine. So maybe it was the plantain. Maybe it wasn't a spider bite, maybe it was a different kind of spider, I don't know. So I was able to use some ancient ancestral herbal wisdom to take care of this problem, and I also learned to walk in the dark, which I did a lot after that because I just wouldn't buy like flashlight batteries. I didn't have money, I didn't like throwing them away, and I just wanted to learn to walk in the dark, so I did that a lot. I think it's worth doing a video on how to walk in the dark, to tell you the truth, because there are some important things and tips I could give you. So maybe sometime I'll tell you the story of when I ate maggots, or when I fed a cat to a vegetarian, which wasn't malicious. It's just like something that happened by circumstance, or some other stories, but that's my spider bite story.